My sister has been a backstabber my whole life, but I never expected her to be secretly hooking up with my fiancé, and now that I've found out they're both assuming I'm going to be too shy to say anything, so we'll see their reactions when I tell everyone tomorrow. I never expected life to look like this. 2 years ago I, 28F, was in a different mindset. I was focused on little things. Back then I felt so comfortable in the day-to-day routine that I overlooked how fragile my future really was. He and I met about 3 years ago. At first I was not ready for anything too serious. I already had my daughter and was juggling everything alone. But little by little I let my guard down. He seemed so patient and steady, helping me with my little one without having any children of his own. I fell for him slowly, then all at once, trusting that I was finally building the loving family I dreamed of. He encouraged me to stop using protection and birth control, which led to this pregnancy. For example, he would often say things like, "We should think about having a child someday," even saying he considers my daughter as his own, and gradually we reduced our use of birth control methods. This pressure made me hopeful about expanding our family, but now I realize that he wasn't genuinely ready or honest about his intentions. His sudden withdrawal has left me feeling manipulated and unprepared for this situation. That was before last month. That was before the positive pregnancy test. When I saw the result, I felt a wave of panic and excitement. I wanted to believe he would stand by me, even be happy about the chance to add another piece to our family. But he did not seem happy. He grew silent. He told me he was not actually ready for another child. He was worried about money and our future. He said maybe we should think about other options. Hearing that felt like a punch in the chest. Now our entire routine is off balance. We barely talk. My daughter has noticed and keeps asking why he is suddenly so sad or quiet. I try to stay calm for her, but my mind is spinning. One moment I am crocheting while she colors, and I glance at him hoping for some sign of warmth, but nothing. He looks away or changes rooms, leaves the house without explaining. The next minute I feel tears spill out. I remember how alone I felt raising my daughter by myself until he came along. Am I back to that? Will I have to do it alone again, only this time with 2 children? I love him, but his distance hurts me more than I can express. The shock of it is unreal. He was the one who used to laugh with me. He used to place a gentle hand on my daughter's shoulder when she learned new things for the first time and teaching her. That sweet, playful version of him seems to have vanished overnight. I'm stuck not only fearing the practical details of a new baby but also grieving the deep sense of safety I once had with him. I keep replaying the moment he told me he did not want another child. I feel betrayed, embarrassed, lonely, and so sad. I do not know how to move forward. He rarely shares what is going on in his head. All I see is a giant wall between us, which might be permanent or might come down only if he decides he wants to let it. I do not have grand answers, just confusion and an endless swirl of questions. My daughter is the light of my life, and I feel guilty for letting my sadness leak into her world. But how do I pretend everything is fine when it is not? How do I plan for a new child when the father is suddenly distant? It is like the ground beneath me is crumbling, and I do not have a safe place to stand. It helps a little to write it all down. Maybe someone will understand. Maybe it will remind someone else they are not alone. Right now I am just hurting, missing a version of my life that I thought was guaranteed. If you made it here, thanks for reading. I hope that, one day, I can share a better update with you. Until then, I'm just trying to get through the day without letting the heartbreak swallow me whole. Update. I have reached the edge of what I can bear. I have been with my fiancé for just over 3 years. We lived together with my 4-year-old daughter from a previous relationship. 3 weeks ago, I found out I am pregnant again. At first, I was overjoyed, naive enough to think we were finally creating the stable family I had always wanted. He grew distant the very next day. He ignored my excitement, started coming home late, and kept his phone glued to him at all times. I began noticing strange calls and those discreet social media notifications that vanished too quickly. My gut told me to investigate. I almost wish I had not. He has been secretly hooking up with my older sister behind my back. She was the one I always tolerated even though she drags drama wherever she goes. She would hug me when relatives were around, pretend to be the supportive older sibling, then turn around and badmouth me to her friends. I never imagined she would crawl into my life this deeply. It felt like a slap in the face to read their messages calling me clueless for not noticing. He told her about the pregnancy before he was honest with me about his doubts, and they joked about how stressed I would be raising another child. My sister bragged that our entire family thinks she is the more interesting and more popular sibling. Meanwhile, I am just the quiet one who apparently deserves this. I do not know if they are still meeting in secret or if they just get a kick out of hurting me. My fiancé denies everything whenever I confront him, says I am hormonal, that my imagination is running wild. My sister keeps messaging me, telling me I should keep my mouth shut and stop being dramatic. I am done hiding my anger. My mother wants me to talk it out calmly, but how do I fix something so broken I can barely breathe? My fiancé thinks I will just accept this. He is counting on me being too shy or too pregnant to do anything. Tomorrow, I plan to blow this up in front of the entire family. We are supposed to have a casual get-together at our parents' house, ironically to celebrate my pregnancy announcement. I will gather my phone logs, the screenshots, and all those humiliating texts they sent each other. Once all the relatives have settled in, I will put everything on display. No more secrets. I might burn everything in the process. I might lose any chance of a pleasant co-parenting scenario. But I feel like I have no other way to reclaim my dignity. I have been crying nonstop for days, my nerves are shot, and all I get from my fiancé is either silent treatment or insults. My sister taunts me, acts like I am worthless. I see no reason to protect them anymore. I do not know what happens next. Maybe they will run off together. Maybe they will lie or twist things around to make me look insane. My fiancé has not contributed much financially, so I worry about affording my daughter and this potential new baby on my own. Yet I cannot pretend that everything is normal. I have to protect whatever self-respect I have left. I'm going to set my entire world on fire tomorrow. Part of me feels terrified, the other part is numb. Regardless, I am done letting them tiptoe around my heart. If they want my silence, they should have kept their betrayal better hidden. Let everyone see exactly who they are. That is all I have left. The girl that I saw as my lifelong friend went on and stole my boyfriend from me and started a relationship with him. Now I found out he's cheating on her too, while she's pregnant with his child. Karma, right? I'm one of the very few people who knows he's cheating and probably will be until the day she finds out herself, which could be a long time. So yeah, you're probably all thinking I'm the jerk, but hear me out first. The story begins a few years ago. I met my first boyfriend at 19, he was 20. I had intimate partners before him, but I had never met anyone who I loved or was interested in dating. I fell head over heels in love with this man, and things were going great. I moved out with him within 3 months, 3,000 kilometers away from my family and hometown, for his job, and we started a life together. We had fights as all couples do, but the longer we were together, the more settled I was in my new home and the more I loved him. I didn't see any major red flags. It was hard moving so far away from home as I'm very close with my family, but they visited, and I visited, and then after 2 years of being away, I reached my peak happiness and was happy with the life we'd created. I had work friends and I had just met what I thought would be a lifelong friend, let's call her Jazz. Jazz and I had similar interests, we looked alike, and we just clicked immediately when she began working with me. I honestly thought she was my soulmate. I only have a few close friends, and instantly she was one of them. I loved her. She was great. She had been married for 6 months when I met her with her longtime partner of 7 years. They were happy, he was very nice. They weren't a perfect couple on both parts, but overall, they were very happy people. Jazz and I started spending a lot of time together as she got a job where I worked, and we would see each other every weekend, often spending time together with our partners as well. After 6 months of knowing her, it felt like within a week things had drastically changed. My partner began prioritizing her, doing anything she wanted to, and had become very close with her, and one weekend, on 2 separate occasions, he was lying in her lap with her rubbing his head affectionately. Long story short, my world blew up. He told me he loved her, and then his family heard about how he was treating me, it grilled him for it, and he suddenly had mental health issues. He told me he needed me to go home for a while so he could think, so I up and left work, called my family crying, and they booked me a flight home for the next week. During this time he saw Jazz at my house alone and decided if he wanted to be with me or not, telling me the day before I was due to come home that he did. I flew back to him. Spent 2 days there for him to say that he wanted to be with me but wasn't willing to lose her, then spent a whole day crying at work, supported by my co-workers, as reality set in and I was forced to swallow the hardest pill of my life so far, that he wasn't in love, he didn't care about me, and that I needed to leave. I said my goodbyes to everyone at work and messaged my mom, who booked a plane ticket for the next day to help me drive home. I said goodbye to Jazz as I left work. I hadn't spoken to her in days. She had just finished her shift too, and I begged her not to say anything to my boyfriend as I wanted to be the one to tell him and explain myself when I got home 10 minutes later. Stupidly, I believed that she wouldn't say anything, but that was the last knife she put in my back. She called him while I was driving home and told him. I hated her so fiercely, but I never acted out towards her or my partner. I didn't do anything vindictive or nasty, and I made sure he was looked after groceries-wise and financially the night before I left. I didn't want any reason for them to excuse their disgusting behavior towards someone who loved them so wholeheartedly. I packed as much stuff as I could into my car, including XL breed dogs, leaving behind thousands of dollars worth of furniture and sentimental pieces, and within 12 hours of our breakup, I was gone forever. I was incredibly lucky to have such a supportive family, both financially and emotionally. It took me months to get back on my feet and to get a job. Without them, between my car loan and dogs, I would have been homeless. My ex never admitted to cheating on me with Jazz, but I know he did. When I got home, my friend Lily admitted he'd been sending her nudes and coming onto her the entire 3 years that we were together, including twice physically when she stayed at my house, once as a guest and once when she was living with me for a very short period. It was less than a month she moved in for because she was so uncomfortable. I did try to speak to her during this period as I knew something was wrong with her, but I never expected it to be about my partner. She said she didn't say anything as she felt bad and didn't want to hurt me. Lily also told me she had proof of him cheating on me with random girls online, one of them being a girl she worked with. I blocked my ex a few weeks after I left and haven't unblocked him since. However, I didn't block his family, as they were supportive and kind to me during the whole process, and I held no grudges. Whilst having his family on socials, I found out that he had entered a relationship with Jazz and that she was pregnant with his baby shortly after I blocked his family, not due to any hard feelings, just as it was unhealthy for me to see. Not long after finding out Jazz was pregnant, I found out from my friend Lily that he was cheating on Jazz with Lily. Honestly, this brings me a lot of satisfaction. It was my biggest fear that Jazz had changed him, and he is now a good man for her, although I know that's not who he is or ever will be. I believe Jazz deserves to be cheated on by someone she loves so deeply. She was cheating on her partner of 7 years and was a terrible person to me. However, she's due to have the baby any time now if she hasn't already just had it. I know this roughly from a stalk of her socials. So am I the jerk for not telling her my ex, her partner, is cheating on her?